Hi, reading log 4. Next up is Spike the Mixed Up Monster. So, this book is by Susan Hood and illustrated by Melissa Sweet, who illustrated the Caldecott Honor, um, illustrated a book that won a Caldecott Honor, The River of Words. So, it's published by Simon and Schuster Books for Young Readers in 2012, and our age range for this one is 4 to 8. So no grades on that one. Or probably like preschool to second. So the summary is this is Spike. He thinks he's very scary, or he wants to be really scary. But unfortunately, he's adorable. And he's also extremely tiny. So all of his friends think that he's not so scary because he's so little. Um, so when a real monster comes to town, which is a Gila monster, everybody, all of his friends, which all of the animals in here are given Spanish names. So it's like El Pato for the duck, and then there's a little mouse and a um, armadillo. So armadillo, obviously, like that's not it's not super hard to figure out. But um, when the Gila monster comes to town, Spike is the only one that's brave enough to talk to the Gila monster, and he ends up being really nice, and they end up being friends. And then all of Spike's friends think that he's the scariest monster in the world because he um, scared off the monster. So very probably like a standard story, I think. But it also, what is cool is the inclusion of Spanish, and then also at the end, there's this little index of like the real Spike, like the animal that Spikes is, which is an axolotl, which is a little salamander in Mexico. So then there's El Monstruo, El Campagnol, El Pato, and El Armadillo. So it's really cool that and then they have the little Spanish words, so adios, El Armadillo. They have all the things that they use in the book to translate at the end. So it's really good if somebody was teaching their kid a little bit of Spanish. I think that they could pick up a little bit, just like you'd pick up a little bit from like Dora. Um, but I think it would also be good for like bilingual children because it's good to see inclusion of Spanish in children's literature. So as you can see, the illustrations are very whimsical, but they always have they have kind of this patchwork um, kind of illustration throughout the book, and these same colors are used. So like in the spike, like in the arrows here, you can see it, and the text then like wraps around some of the pictures. They do use speech bubbles for the characters most of the time. Um, which is interesting. And then they use different sizes, but they use the same font the whole time. And then they usually, whenever they're speaking Spanish, it is italicized. So that's a way for, even if a child can't quite read yet, they can see that there's a difference in that. They can detect that. The background is very, very whimsical. Little, like, they almost look like gumdrop flowers and stuff. The mouse, the armadillo, and the duck, his friends, and then little Spike is all the way down here. So he's not as scary as he looks initially. Um, but I think he's not scary up close, which is good because it is for a younger audience. But they do a lot with. So here's the Gila monster, and that is, I guess, it's a little bit scary. I think they still keep it pretty kid friendly. Um, but then here's Spike gnashing his terrible teeth. So they really incorporate the text within the picture. So there's Spike trying to be scary. Um, and the text around the illustrations, like I said, like it could be more traditional like this, or it can really be integrated. The last page is the only thing that I think is weird in this book, just because I think maybe they had like an odd number of pages and they didn't want to like go straight into the index. So when Spike's friends are like so happy with him and Spike is happy, and then they just have this like random page with like nothing on it, and there's like these weird squares. So I think that's the only thing that I looked at, and I was like, I mean, not that I think that a little kid would care, but it's just kind of a weird transition to me. But they do the same patchwork colors that they use. They use as borders on this page. They use it a couple other places throughout the book. Um, so it's interesting, and I think that it's really like younger kid friendly to a slightly nonfiction version of a fiction book. So if kids were really interested in animals, I think it would be a good one to add to their bookshelf.